We are counting down the 20 British dinners that vanished when supermarkets took over. These are dishes that once anchored family tables from Cornwall to Caithness, but quietly disappeared as Britain traded butcher's blocks for bright fluorescent aisles. From offal suppers that stretched a single shilling into a feast, to regional specialties that could not survive the journey to a refrigerated shelf, each entry marks a turning point in how Britain learned to eat. Expect cuts of meat your children would not recognize, flavors born in back kitchens, and the quiet tragedy of convenience. Which lost dinner tops our list? Let's begin the countdown with number 20. Potted meat sandwiches anchored the tea table in industrial towns long before plastic-wrapped ham ruled the supermarket chill cabinet. Housewives collected scraps from Sunday's joint, minced them fine with a hand grinder, then packed the paste into small ceramic pots sealed with a thick layer of clarified butter. The result was spreadable, salty, and strong enough to carry a working man through an afternoon shift. By 1958, National Food Survey figures showed that potted meats appeared in nearly 1 in 3 households each week, a staple so ordinary it rarely earned mention in recipe books. Children spread the paste on doorstep slices of bread, sometimes wincing at the intense, concentrated flavor, while mothers took quiet pride in wasting nothing from the weekend roast. The ritual of potting was passed between generations, each family guarding its own blend of pepper and mace. Yet when supermarkets introduced sealed packs of sliced luncheon meat, uniform in taste and endlessly convenient, the ceramic pots vanished from kitchen windowsills almost overnight. The skill of potting, honed across decades, became suddenly unnecessary. Today, potted meat survives only in specialist delis and the long memories of those who once scraped every last morsel from the pot. Its disappearance marks the first quiet surrender to the supermarket age. Number 19. Haslet, sliced thick onto tea-time plates, was once the pride of Lincolnshire butchers, a cold loaf of seasoned pork offal that spoke of thrift and tradition. Butchers mixed pig's liver, heart, and belly with stale breadcrumbs and sage, pressed the lot into loaf tins, then baked until the kitchen filled with a savory, herbal steam. In the 1950s, a quarter-pound of haslet cost less than 9p, cheap enough for even the tightest budget, yet flavorful enough to anchor a proper tea. Sliced cold with pickled onions and a smear of mustard, haslet was the meal that asked nothing of the cook but a sharp knife and a clean plate. Oral histories from the East Midlands recall children racing to the butcher's counter, hoping to claim the prized end slice, darker and more intensely seasoned than the rest. Yet haslet could not travel. Its short shelf life and regional character made it ill-suited to the national supply chains that supermarkets demanded. By the 1980s, independent butchers were closing at a rate of over 1,000 a year, and with them went the recipes that could not be scaled or shipped. Haslet survives today only in a handful of traditional shops, a quiet ghost of the suppers that vanished when the high street surrendered to the retail park. Number 18. Peas pudding clung to the northeast as stubbornly as the coal dust that once settled on every windowsill. Housewives boiled split yellow peas for hours, mashing them with butter, salt, and a crack of pepper until the mixture turned smooth and golden. Served alongside boiled ham or stuffed into a stotty cake, peas pudding was the taste of Tyneside, as much a part of the region as the shipyards and the Tyne itself. In 1962, market stalls in Newcastle sold peas pudding by the ladleful, scooped hot into grease-proof paper for workers heading home after a long shift. The smell, thick and earthy, drifted through covered markets and clung to woolen coats. Children grew up with the rhyme, peas pudding hot, peas pudding cold, never questioning why it appeared at nearly every meal. Yet supermarkets had no interest in regional dishes that could not cross county lines. The sealed tubs that eventually appeared on shelves bore little resemblance to the fresh, buttery paste of the market stalls. By the 1990s, peas pudding had retreated to a handful of traditional outlets, a curiosity rather than a staple. Its fading presence is a quiet testament to the way supermarkets flattened Britain's regional palate, trading local pride for national uniformity. Number 17. Saveloy and chips stood as the Friday night reward in working-class London, a meal as vivid as the red-skinned sausage itself. Fish and chip shops kept rows of Saveloys warming in their own juices, the bright crimson casings glistening under strip lights. Wrapped in newspaper with a pile of golden chips and doused in malt vinegar, the Saveloy was the taste of the end of the week. In the 1960s, a Saveloy supper cost less than 2 shillings, affordable enough for even the largest family to share. Children fought over the sausage, pulling it apart to reveal the dense, peppery meat inside, while fathers salted their chips and mothers wiped down Formica tables. Oral histories from the East End recall the queue snaking out of the chippy door, the hiss of the fryer, and the cheerful shouts of the servers. Yet as supermarkets introduced frozen ready meals and oven chips, the Friday ritual began to fade. Fish and chip shops closed at a rate not seen since the war, and with them went the Saveloy's natural home. Today, the Saveloy survives in a scattering of traditional chippies, but the weekly pilgrimage that once defined working-class weekends has all but vanished. Convenience won, and the red sausage retreated into memory. Number 16. Pan Haggerty warmed the stone cottages of Northumberland when the wind cut sharp across the moors. Housewives layered thin slices of potato, onion, and crumbly Lancashire cheese in a heavy iron skillet, frying the lot low and slow until the bottom crisped and the cheese melted into golden strings. The dish asked for nothing more than patience and a few pennies' worth of ingredients, yet it delivered a supper rich enough to silence even the hungriest farmhand. In the 1950s, Pan Haggerty appeared on cottage tables across the northeast, its name as old as the dry stone walls that marked the fields. Diaries from the era recall the sizzle of butter in the pan, the careful flip to brown both sides, and the pride in serving a dish that stretched so little into so much. Yet Pan Haggerty was a dish of the hearth, not the production line. Supermarkets could not package the slow ritual of layering and frying, and as kitchens modernized, the iron skillets were packed away in favor of non-stick convenience. By the 1980s, Pan Haggerty had faded from everyday tables, its memory kept alive only in regional cookbooks and the stories of those who still remembered the taste of a proper Northumberland supper. Number 15. Black pudding. Supper held court in the north, a dish that divided Britain as sharply as any border. Slices of blood sausage, dense and dark, were fried until the edges crisped, then served alongside eggs, bacon, and a mound of chips. In Lancashire and Yorkshire, black pudding was a source of fierce local pride, with butchers guarding recipes passed down through generations. By 1955, nearly every northern high street boasted at least one pork butcher selling fresh black pudding by the link, its rich, earthy flavor as familiar as the factory whistles that marked the working day. Children watched mothers slice the pudding with a sharp knife, the dark interior studded with cubes of white fat, and learned early that this was food that meant something. Oral histories recall the ritual of the Friday fry-up, the clatter of plates, and the satisfaction of a meal that cost little but filled every seat at the table. Supermarkets demanded uniformity, and black pudding's regional variations could not survive the journey to a national supply chain. The shrink-wrapped versions that appeared on refrigerated shelves were pale imitations, stripped of character and tradition. Today, artisan black pudding enjoys a revival in farmers' markets, but the everyday supper that once anchored northern tables has largely vanished, a casualty of convenience and the slow retreat of the independent butcher. Number 14. Brawn arrived at the table in thick, trembling slices, a dish that made use of every last scrap the pig could offer. Housewives simmered pig's head, trotters, and offal for hours, straining the liquid and setting the shredded meat in its own jelly until firm. By the early 1950s, brawn was a fixture of cold suppers across Britain, sold by the wedge at butchers' counters for just a few pence a portion. The taste was rich and porky, the texture dense, and the appearance unsettling to anyone not raised on post-war thrift. Children often refused it outright, but fathers and grandfathers ate with relish, spreading slices on bread with a dab of mustard. Oral histories recall the sight of the pig's head in the kitchen, the long simmer, and the quiet satisfaction of a meal conjured from what others might have thrown away. Yet brawn could not survive the supermarket revolution. Its unfamiliar appearance and short shelf life made it unsuitable for the bright aisles of the new stores, and as independent butchers closed, the skills required to make it vanished too. Today, brawn is a rarity, found only in specialty shops, and the long memories of those who grew up in a Britain where nothing, not even a pig's head, went to waste. Chitterlings brought the sharpest test of nerve to the British table, a dish that demanded both strong stomachs and stronger traditions. Pig intestines were cleaned, boiled, and fried until crisp, their rich, pungent flavor filling kitchens from the Black Country to the Welsh valleys. In the 1950s, chitterlings sold briskly at market stalls, wrapped in brown paper and carried home for Saturday supper. The preparation was laborious, requiring hours of soaking and scrubbing, but the reward was a dish that stretched the cheapest cut into something almost celebratory. Oral histories from the Midlands recall the smell drifting through terraced streets, the knowing nods between neighbours, and the sharp divide between those who relished chitterlings and those who fled the kitchen at first sight. For many, the taste was inseparable from memories of thrift and community, a dish that marked out the old ways from the new. Yet supermarkets had no place for chitterlings. The cut could not be standardized, the smell could not be sanitized, and the skills required to prepare it faded with each passing generation. By the 1980s, chitterlings had all but vanished from British tables, their memory preserved only in the stories of those who still remembered the taste of a proper Black Country supper. Pig's trotters simmered in pots across Britain when nothing could be wasted, and every part of the animal earned its place at the table. Housewives bought trotters for pennies at the butcher's counter, boiling them for hours until the meat fell from the bone and the cooking liquor turned thick and gelatinous. The result was a dish that demanded patience but rewarded thrift, filling bellies when wages ran thin. By 1952, trotters appeared on market stalls in every industrial town, their low price making them the fallback for families who could not afford a proper joint. Children picked at the sticky meat, mothers stretched a single pair of trotters into soup for the week, and fathers swore by their goodness, remembering harder times when even this humble cut was a luxury. Oral histories recall the ritual of cracking the bones, the richness of the broth, and the quiet pride in making something from almost nothing. Yet pig's trotters could not survive the supermarket age. Their unfamiliar appearance and labor-intensive preparation made them unsuitable for the modern shopper, and as convenience became king, the trotters vanished from butchers' counters. Today they appear only in specialty shops and the kitchens of those who refuse to forget. Number 11. Tongue with parsley sauce stood as the centerpiece of Sunday cold suppers in homes across Britain, a dish that demanded both skill and a certain bravery. Housewives bought ox tongue from the butcher, simmered it for hours, then peeled away the rough outer skin to reveal the tender pink meat beneath. Sliced thin and served cold with a creamy parsley sauce, tongue was the taste of tradition, its rich, beefy flavor unlike anything else on the table. By the mid-1950s, pressed tongue sold briskly at delicatessens and butchers' counters, often displayed in gleaming tins or set in its own jelly. Children eyed the slices with suspicion, but adults ate with relish, spreading each piece with mustard or spooning over the pale green sauce. Oral histories recall the ritual of pressing the tongue, the weight of the dish, and the quiet satisfaction of a supper that cost little but looked like a feast. Yet supermarkets could not replicate the butcher's art. The sealed packs of processed meat that filled the chill cabinets bore no resemblance to the fresh, hand-pressed tongue of the high street. By the 1980s, tongue had faded from everyday tables, its memory kept alive only in the stories of those who still remembered the taste of a proper cold supper. Number 10. Heart casserole stretched a single organ into a meal for the whole family, a dish born of necessity and kept alive by habit. Housewives bought lamb's or pig's hearts for just a few pence at the butcher's counter, stuffing them with breadcrumbs and sage before braising in a rich onion gravy. The meat, dense and lean, required long, slow cooking to become tender. But the reward was a supper that filled every plate without emptying the purse. By 1955, heart appeared on tables across Britain, especially in the industrial north, where thrift was not a choice but a way of life. Children watched mothers trim the valves and slice the muscle, learning early that nothing could be wasted. Oral histories recall the smell of the casserole bubbling in the oven, the anticipation of a meal that asked little but gave much. Yet heart could not survive the supermarket revolution. Its unfamiliar appearance and the skill required to prepare it made it unsuitable for the modern shopper, and as convenience foods filled the freezers, heart disappeared from butchers' counters. Today it is a rarity, found only in specialty shops and the kitchens of those who still value the old ways. Oxtail stew anchored winter tables with a richness that no other cut could match. Housewives bought oxtail for a few shillings at the butcher's counter, knowing that hours of simmering would transform the bony segments into something deeply satisfying. The meat clung to the bone, falling away at the touch of a fork, while the cooking liquor turned thick and glossy with natural gelatin. By the early 1950s, oxtail was a staple of thrifty kitchens, its low price making it the fallback for families stretching every penny. Children fished for the meatiest pieces, parents savored the marrow, and the pot was often topped up and set back on the stove for another day. Oral histories recall the ritual of browning the tails, the slow bubble of the stew, and the deep satisfaction of a meal that asked for nothing but time. Yet oxtail could not survive the supermarket age. Its long cooking time and unfamiliar appearance made it unsuitable for the modern shopper, and as ready meals filled the freezers, oxtail faded from butchers' counters. Today, it has returned as a restaurant delicacy, but the everyday stew that once warmed working-class kitchens has all but vanished. Number 8. Liver and onions divided the British table as sharply as any dish on this list. Slices of lamb or pig liver were fried fast in a hot pan, smothered in soft caramelized onions, and served with mashed potato and a pool of thick gravy. In the 1950s, liver cost a fraction of the price of steak, making it the affordable answer to the nation's hunger for meat. Housewives bought it fresh from the butcher, knowing that speed was everything. A minute too long in the pan and the liver turned tough and bitter. Children wrinkled their noses at the strong metallic smell, but parents insisted on clean plates, knowing that liver was rich in iron and vitamins. Oral histories recall the ritual of the weekly liver supper, the sizzle of the pan, and the arguments over who got the crispiest onions. Yet liver could not survive the supermarket revolution. The sealed packs that appeared on refrigerated shelves were often old and bitter, a pale imitation of the fresh slices from the butcher's block. As independent butchers closed and tastes changed, liver faded from the weekly menu. Today it survives as a nostalgic curiosity, its presence on the table a reminder of a time when offal was ordinary and nothing went to waste. Number 7. Steak and kidney pudding stood as the monarch of British suppers, a dish that demanded both skill and patience, but rewarded with unmatched richness. Housewives lined pudding basins with suet pastry, filled them with chunks of beef and kidney, then sealed and steamed for hours until the pastry turned glossy and the filling bubbled with savory gravy. By 1953, suet puddings appeared on tables across Britain, their heft and warmth the answer to cold nights and empty stomachs. The smell of steaming meat and pastry drifted through terraced kitchens, a signal that supper was nearly ready. Children watched the basin turned out, the crust splitting to reveal the dark, fragrant filling, while fathers claimed the kidneys and mothers served generous slices with extra gravy. Oral histories recall the pride in a well-made pudding, the hours of simmering, and the satisfaction of a meal that asked for nothing but time. Yet steak and kidney pudding could not survive the supermarket age. The convenience of frozen pies and ready meals made the long steaming seem old-fashioned, and as kitchens modernized, the pudding basin was packed away. Today, steak and kidney pudding survives in pubs and specialist shops, but the homemade suppers that once crowned British tables have all but vanished. Faggots and peas carried the taste of thrift from the Midlands to tables across Britain, a dish that made virtue of the cheapest cuts. Butchers mixed pig's liver, heart and belly with onions, breadcrumbs and sage, shaped the mixture into balls, and baked until the kitchen filled with a rich, herbal scent. Served with mushy peas and thick onion gravy, faggots were the meal that stretched a shilling into a feast. By the late 1950s, faggot shops dotted the Black Country, their windows steamed and their counters crowded with workers seeking a cheap, filling supper. Children watched mothers ladle the gravy, soaking every last pea, while fathers claimed the crispest faggot from the dish. Oral histories recall the pride in a well-made batch, the secret blend of seasonings, and the communal spirit of the faggot shop. Yet faggots could not survive the supermarket revolution unchanged. The shrink-wrapped versions that appeared on refrigerated shelves were uniform and bland, stripped of the character that made the originals so beloved. As independent butchers closed and tastes changed, the art of making proper faggots faded. Today, artisan versions enjoy a modest revival, but the everyday suppers that once anchored Midlands tables have largely vanished, casualties of convenience and the slow retreat of the high street. Mince and tatties anchored the Scottish table with a simple, unpretentious style that belied its importance. Housewives browned beef mince with onions, simmered it in a thin gravy, and served it alongside a mound of floury mashed potatoes. The dish asked for nothing fancy, just good ingredients and a little patience, yet it delivered a supper that satisfied the hungriest family. By 1960, mince and tatties appeared on tables across Scotland, from tenement flats in Glasgow to crofts in the Highlands. The smell of frying onions and browning meat drifted through kitchens, a signal that the day's work was nearly done. Children mashed the potatoes into the gravy, creating patterns on the plate, while parents watched with quiet approval. Oral histories recall the ritual of the weeknight supper and the comfort of a meal that never disappointed. Yet mince and tatties could not survive the supermarket age unchanged. The sealed packs of lean mince that appeared on refrigerated shelves lacked the fat that gave the dish its flavor, and as convenience foods filled the freezers, the slow-simmered suppers of old faded from memory. Today, mince and tatties survive as a nostalgic staple, but the everyday ritual that once defined Scottish family life has largely vanished. Number 4. Boiled bacon and cabbage stood as the centerpiece of the midweek table in homes across Britain, a dish that stretched a single joint into meals for days. Housewives soaked the bacon overnight to draw out the salt, then simmered it for hours with carrots, onions, and a whole cabbage wedged around the joint. The result was tender, salty meat and vegetables infused with smoky, porky flavor. By 1954, bacon joints sold briskly at butchers' counters, their low price making them the affordable anchor of the working-class diet. Children watched the pot bubble, the cabbage turning soft and sweet, while fathers carved the joint at the table with quiet ceremony. Oral histories recall the ritual of the boiled dinner, the slices of cold bacon that stretched into sandwiches for the week, and the satisfaction of a meal that wasted nothing. Yet boiled bacon could not survive the supermarket age unchanged. The vacuum-packed joints that appeared on refrigerated shelves were often too salty or too lean, and as kitchens modernized, the long simmer fell out of fashion. Today, boiled bacon and cabbage survives in pockets of tradition, but the everyday suppers that once stretched every shilling have largely vanished. Number 3. Meat and potato pie ruled the North with an authority that no supermarket could replicate. Butchers and bakers filled sturdy short-crust cases with chunks of beef, diced potatoes, and thick onion gravy, baking until the crust turned golden and the filling bubbled through the vents. In Lancashire and Yorkshire, meat and potato pie was more than a meal. It was a badge of identity, served at football matches, miners' galas, and family tables alike. By 1958, pie shops dotted every high street, their windows steamed and their counters crowded with workers seeking a cheap, filling supper. Children queued for a pie and peas, eating straight from the paper, while mothers baked their own versions at home, each claiming their pastry was the best. Oral histories recall the ritual of the Friday pie supper, the arguments over gravy, and the fierce loyalty to local bakers. Yet meat and potato pie could not survive the supermarket age unchanged. The shrink-wrapped versions that appeared on refrigerated shelves were pale imitations, their crusts soggy and their fillings thin. As independent bakers closed and tastes changed, the art of the proper pie faded from everyday life. Today, artisan pie shops enjoy a revival, but the weekly ritual that once defined northern suppers has largely vanished. Stargazy pie stood as the most striking dish of the Cornish coast, a pie so unusual that it survived in memory long after it vanished from tables. Whole pilchards were baked into a pastry crust, their heads poking through the top as if gazing at the stars, while eggs and cream enriched the filling below. The dish was born of necessity, a way to celebrate the winter pilchard catch when the boats returned and the village rejoiced. By the 1950s, Stargazy pie appeared at festivals and family tables in Mousehole and beyond, its strange appearance a source of pride and amusement. Children stared at the fish heads, daring each other to eat the eyes, while adults savored the rich, oily filling and the flaky crust. Oral histories recall the ritual of the December bake, the laughter around the table, and the fierce local pride in a dish that belonged to Cornwall alone. Yet Stargazy pie could not survive the supermarket age. Its regional character and unusual appearance made it unsuitable for national shelves, and as fish stocks declined and tastes changed, the pie faded from everyday life. Today, Stargazy pie survives only at the annual Tom Borcock's Eve celebration in Mousehole, a living relic of the suppers that vanished when the supermarkets took over. Number 1. Siar Tal crowned the Welsh hearth as the ultimate expression of thrift and tradition, a broth so rich and nourishing that it sustained generations through the harshest winters. Housewives filled heavy pots with bacon, leeks, cabbage, potatoes, and whatever root vegetables the garden could spare, simmering the lot for hours until the kitchen filled with a warm, savory steam. In the mining valleys and hill farms of Wales, cawl was more than a meal. It was a ritual, served with hunks of bread and eaten in near silence after long days of labor. Children watched mothers ladle the stew, soaking every scrap of bread, while fathers returned from the pit or the field, grateful for a bowl that asked nothing but gave everything. Oral histories recall the smell drifting through stone cottages, the pride in a well-made batch, and the sense of community that came from sharing a pot with neighbors. By 1955, cawl appeared on tables from Snowdonia to the valleys, its thick, hearty broth the answer to cold nights and hard work. Yet cawl could not survive the supermarket age unchanged. Its regional character and slow preparation made it unsuitable for modern kitchens, and as convenience foods filled the freezers, the old recipes faded from the memory. Today, cawl survives in pockets of tradition and the kitchens of those who refuse to forget. But the everyday suppers that once anchored Welsh life have largely vanished, casualties of a revolution that traded hearth and home for brightly lit aisles and shrink-wrapped convenience. Across all 20 entries, from the humble potted meat sandwiches that opened our list to the triumphant cawl at the very top, these forgotten British dinners tell a powerful story of loss, change, and quiet resilience. Some dishes, like chitterlings and brawn, stand out as the most shocking reminders of a time when nothing could be wasted, while others, such as meat and potato pie and mince and tatties, reveal how regional pride and family tradition shaped the nation's palate. The common thread throughout is the slow retreat of the independent butcher, the baker, and the market stall, replaced by the bright uniformity of the supermarket aisle. Offal, slow-cooked stews, and regional specialties could not survive the journey to a national supply chain, and with their disappearance went the skills, the rituals, and the memories that made British suppers so distinctive. This ranking is not just about what disappeared from our kitchens, but what these dishes represent: the resilience of working-class families, the deep cultural memory woven into every steaming pot, and the quiet tragedy of convenience. In the end, these 20 lost dinners are more than recipes. They are the taste of a Britain that fed itself with ingenuity, stretched every shilling, and found warmth around tables that have long since fallen silent.